Coming your way from New Orleans, American Farm Bureau Convention, the Centennial Celebration, 100 years. Part of the event, too, we're excited about on Monday in a closing session. President Donald Trump will be here for the second year in a row. He was here last year, and he promised he would be back again for the 100th. Well, he's keeping his promise, so it's kind of exciting, and especially with all the things going on in D.C., a lot of issues. Some things have been accomplished, and there's others that are still coming. It's great to see him to be back here. Our guest on this broadcast, Deborah Durheim. Deborah from Long Prairie, Minnesota. Deborah, we talked earlier too, but a lot of fun, I think, in that first session this morning. What went on? Zippy Duval, American Farm Bureau president. Really good message. The production behind all of it, the lights, the camera, the action, it's all there.
Yes, it is. It really gets you excited about the whole adventure here in New Orleans.
Yep, good time. Let's talk about your activity in Farm Bureau. And I know that you're on Promotion and Education Committee. A little background to that, because it starts out with a state story and then moves to a national story.
That's correct. I got on to the Promotion and Education Committee. I've been on now I'm entering my 5th year in the state of Minnesota. And 2 years ago, I was the chairperson for the Promotion and Education Committee for the state of Minnesota. Then the opening came at the national level. And I decided to go ahead and decided and encouraged by my husband to go ahead and apply for that position. And I did, and now I am representing Minnesota here at the AFBF.
All right. We're going to come back, talk a little bit about your husband later. Let's make that a later subject.
Okay.
Right now, we're going to talk about Field to Fork Face-Off. What in the heck is Field to Fork Face-Off? This sounds like fun.
It is. I'm really excited about it. It is based on Family Feud. If you watch Family Feud on TV, but of course we couldn't use that because it's copyrighted. So we had to come up with a creative name, and I can't take all the credit for it because there are 2 other committee members that I've worked with to have this happen. And how we went about it is we did surveys. So we did consumer surveys, we did member surveys, and we also reached out to youth and schools throughout the United States to and ask them questions, and it's based on 100 surveys that were put out and their responses. And when we did the consumer surveys, that was done at the Minnesota State Fair last year. So anybody who came into our booth at the Minnesota State Fair got asked questions. And then those surveys were compiled, and that's what we based some of our questions off of.
Okay, so I'm thinking of Family Feud, and then it's percentages, you know, what's the correct answer and what's got the highest percentage, right?
Right, exactly. So let's say, for example, I asked the question, breed of cows. Name me the top breed of dairy cows.
Got to be Holstein.
Okay, so that would be how we did the responses. Some were Holstein, some might have been Guernsey, Jerseys, whatever it might be. But that's how we went about doing that. And then the people would respond, so we asked them the question. They would respond, the response was wrote down, and then we accumulated their totals.
All right, this sounds like a lot of fun. So you're going to have this same event, this Field to Fork Face-Off, like a Family Feud game. You're going to have it here at the National Convention. When, where, and who's involved?
Okay, so it'll be tomorrow, Monday, and it will be right after Donald Trump's presentation. So our closing session tomorrow. It'll be at approximately 1:30 tomorrow. And how we did it is we opened it up to the states if they wanted to have a team. So then they submitted their application, did a little scenario, and from those, the committee made their choices on the teams. So we have 4 teams participating, and they are from Montana, Minnesota, Massachusetts, and Nebraska are our 4 teams. So they've been selected as to their rounds, and then, of course, it'd be just like Family Feud where they come back. Then our winner of the first round will come back for the 3rd round, and so forth.
Is this going to be on the stage in the trade show?
Yes, it is. That is where it's going to be held, is on the stage at the trade show.
I think they call that the cultivation stage, if I remember.
I believe you're right. Yes, it is.
That should be fun. So, prizes for the winning states?
What the prize is going to be is registration for their team to the Fusion Conference that is going to be held in March in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Excellent. That should be good. Are you planning to take this on the road to other places, maybe at the state fair in another version? What are you going to do with it from here?
Well, I'm not sure. We talked about the possibility of maybe doing it at Fusion in March. I'm not sure. I suppose we won't have time to pull it into our Minnesota Leadership Conference because that's in 2 weeks. Our LEAP conference is. So we probably won't be able to maybe use it this year, but maybe next year. So I'm hoping that we can use it, utilize it, or that states will utilize it.
Deborah Durheim was with us, again, on the American Farm Bureau Promotion and Education Committee Field to Fork Face-Off that's coming up that they're presenting here. Let's get back to the family. Your husband's Delvin?
Yes, he is.
And your family involvement in Farm Bureau?
Our family involvement in Farm Bureau, okay. Actually, Delvin has sat on the Farm Bureau board for many years. And then I joined him later on, and he volunteered me to be the secretary-treasurer of our local chapter in Todd County. And in his earlier years, he sat on the Promotion Education Committee as well as the membership committee. So he's been involved like far longer than I have. But we also have a son who worked for American Farm Bureau in Washington, D.C. for some time, and now has changed and is now working for Nationwide. But so our family roots as far as Farm Bureau goes way back. Delvin's mother and father, Raymond and Jesse Durheim, they were also Farm Bureau members. So he's came a long ways with the membership. But an awesome, wonderful group of people. I have learned so much about farming in other states. I have met so many people. The list is just endless of the people I've met.
Deborah, so if I was to ask you for a short answer, what do you see as the value and purpose of Farm Bureau? Not just in our counties in Minnesota, for the state, and for the nation. What do you see as the value and purpose?
I would say it's our advocating. The importance of going and meeting with your legislators, whether it's in your state or at the national, at Washington, D.C. Go and talk to them. They want to hear your story, and they want to hear what's important. If we don't tell them, they don't know. So we need to be advocates, and we need to make our contacts. We do.
And farming is everybody's bread and butter. We just have to keep getting that message across.
That is correct. That is correct. If we don't, nobody else is going to do it for us.
Deborah Durheim, our guest. We're here in New Orleans, American Farm Bureau Convention, the 100th annual. Deborah, thanks so much. It was fun, very informative, and sounds like a good time. And keep the Field to Fork Face-Off Family Feud going.
Yes, we will. Thank you for the time.
Very good. From New Orleans, Jim Bartle's coming your way on the Inkstead, Minnesota Radio Network.